Peace and Black Power family. Welcome to another episode of Knowledge Radio, place where knowledge is born. This is your host, Knowledge Born Allah, and we are here with a warrior African who I just coined the raceologist, race firstologist right here. we got a foremost expert in race firstology to come impart some words of motivation and some words of insurrection to our family. So let's welcome the founder of PLM and a host of other institutions that are working from the young to the old African mind and reorienting us back in purpose, on purpose.
That's right.
Baba Imhotep Faitu.
Peace, brother.
Peace. Welcome to the show. How you feeling, Baba?
I'm excited, and it's an honor to be on this show once again. Just to be able to just to chop it up and to offer what I have been blessed with over the last 25 or so years in doing this work. Yeah, that's one thing I do want to stress at the front. I know, like, far as my stature, I'm not a large person, so oftentimes people might see me or hear me, and the perception is, I'm younger than what I am, and I just, probably just got into this line of work. But I've been doing this work actually since 1993, so that's 27 years. And I like to emphasize that. And I don't just shoot from the hip, serious research, study, self-reflection, and self-correction go into my work, so when I take it 100% seriously. It's my, for me, this is a way of life. I have to live this. If I wasn't doing this, I'd be totally insane.
That's real. That's real. So the catalyst that got you on your journey 27 years ago, what was it? You could have been doing anything in the world, but you chose the grit and grime of helping African people.
The catalyst, it's interesting. The catalyst 27 years ago, I was in a Maryland institution, penal institution, Eastern Correctional Institution on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. I was serving 20 years. And for some reason, I just could not get along with those white guards. It just wasn't working. I didn't know why, because I wasn't into knowledge at the time. So I was on lockup. I was in solitary confinement. And a brother pulled me up. And he asked me to do him a favor. Older guy, and I was suspicious because I was young. Like, man, what do you mean? Well, what do you mean by favor? He said, no, I want you to read this book for me. If you read this book for me, so I'll look out for you. Something said, go ahead and take him up on the challenge. So I read the book. And that book was From Superman to Man by J.A. Rogers. And that was the catalyst right there. It was that book. I read that book. I fell in love with, the main character, which was Dixon. I felt like Dixon he was intelligent. He was a black man. He was on point. He was aware. He carried himself well in that discussion with that white senator. And I was like, the very next day when I seen the guy, I said, man, hey, I want to be like Dixon. That's the first thing I said. I think I was probably like 22, 23, something like that. He said, man, it's doable. He said, you got to work hard. And I committed myself to working hard. And, I'm here today. But once I got on that path in 1993, I never got off that path. Never got off it.
That's a big leap from Superman to Man, J.A. Rogers. Most people kind of ease their way in,
Yeah.
That's a big leap to jump into. So going inside, you were there, and this shift and this change. How did things become for you after that? Because normally, if if you're in a situation where you can be controlled by vice, like you see a lot of brothers and sisters today, if you can be controlled by vice, you're not looked at as a threat. Because they could come to you and offer you something, and you'll be good to go. So now that you are on this path, kind of like this man right here describes it in great detail on how he was reclassified. When he was reclassified a revolutionary, the kind of treatment he received. So did things change for you? Did they kind of escalate? What was kind of going on after you decided to walk on this particular path?
That's so yeah, things did escalate. So like I said, I was already on solitary confinement. So I stayed on there probably like another 60 days. But I was reading, and when I came off of solitary confinement, the one thing that I did is I no longer went out to the rec yard. I no longer went to the rec yard to play games and things like that. I would spend a lot of time in the libraries and just reading. But my run-ins with the institution, it increased because I began to understand why they behaved as they behaved. And I began to truly see the system, and the anger began to develop in me. The anger that was already there became more concentrated and directed. So what they did in that institution is they labeled me a because I used to have a lot of younger guys around me. So they say he's an influential threat. So they shipped me out of that institution. They shipped me into Hagerstown, which is redneck land. So now I'm in Hagerstown, and I come into Hagerstown, and I'm on fire because I'm reading George Jackson now. I'm reading Revolutionary Suicide. I'm reading To Die for the People. This is what I'm reading now. I'm reading, you know what I'm saying, the autobiography, Assata Shakur. I'm on fire. So I go in Hagerstown, and I'm in Hagerstown probably like 9 months, and I bang a few police out. From European, I bang a few of them out, and they shipped me out of there, and they sent me into Baltimore, and they sent me into the super maximum security prison, because that prison is designed to truly break you. And it was there. It was there when I truly tapped into all my rage and my anger, and I honed it, and I began to organize my thoughts and organize how I was going to behave, and I began to think about building PLM and Supermax in 1995. So from 1993 to 1995, I underwent a radical revolutionary change in my mentality. And then when I came face to face with the hardcore reality of how vicious prison can be by being in Supermax, when they handcuffed me and shackled me and put me in the hole and turned the blowers on, and they did things like that, when they would spit inside my food, and when they did all that, when they put feces in my food, when I saw how vicious they can be, that's when I began to really become who I became. And after that, so I stayed in Supermax 2 years, from 95 to like the end of 1996 for the most part. I came out of Supermax. I went back into the Eastern Correctional Institution, and I began to organize the younger guys. I went straight to organizing. And they just kept, after that, I got sent around all the prison systems. I had 4 parole hearings, but they was not trying to allow me to leave. Although I wasn't getting in any trouble, anything like that, I was just organizing the masses, the young brothers. I was giving them the knowledge. And every prison I went in, I stayed in there probably like 15 months. They send me out, send me to another one, send me to another one, put me on administrative lockup. They did everything under the sun. They would return my mail to me and tell me that my home address was non-deliverable. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. Everything under the sun to break my spirit. But you know what? I was tuned into the ancestors. There was nothing that they could do that would break me. I was locked in. And so I done 13 years and 9 months all together, and I came home in 2004. Yeah, but it was just an ongoing onslaught of Europeans. You still there, brother? Knowledge Boom?
Yeah, cut me when you said. I heard the last thing I heard was it was 15 months, and then they shipped you to another one.
Yes, okay. So after that, it was like my duration in institutions was about 15 months to 18 months when they would consistently ship me out to other institutions because they were labeling me as an influential threat because I was actually waking the younger guys up. So the younger guys, the younger guys that was 17 and 18 that was coming into the institutions, because during this time period of, you know, the 90s is when the Clintons came up with this super predator. So a lot of young black men got ushered into, you know what I'm saying, the prison systems, you know, the crime bill, they ushered us in during that time period. And by me going in the early 90s, so I was kind of older when these younger guys started coming in the mid 90s, 95, 96, 97. And I was already pretty much on point. So as they was coming in, I was giving them the knowledge. Like, this is what's going on. I was letting them know, like, there's nothing rehabilitative about prison. Don't even use that word. You know what I'm saying? This place is designed to crush your spirit. It is designed to break you and make you incapable of being a human being when you go back into society, so that you will not be any use to your people. I say, so you must resist everything they throw at you. Everything they do, you have to resist it. When they tell you go one way, you go the other way. You know what I'm saying? When they tell you this is good, you understand that it's bad. When they tell you that's bad, understand that it's good. When I started doing that with those younger brothers, and they started getting it, they started really seeing how the prison was set up, we started organizing. It got to the point where it became so severe in terms that we had this service in Hagerstown that we used to go to. When we left service at 9:45 p.m. at night, it seemed like they had every police guard in the jail out on their compound. They didn't know what we was going to do, because I had those brothers, they was getting it together. I had them, they was fasting, they was exercising, they was disciplining themselves. They wasn't watching that. They wasn't out there watching sports. They wasn't playing all those games. They was ordering books. They was managing their money. They didn't know what was happening. We was getting it in. And when I came home in 2004, I just kept on working. I've been working ever since then. This is my life. I live and breathe this right here. I don't play any games. I don't have tolerance for half-stepping. I don't have tolerance for people who lack discipline. I don't tolerate that, because this is a real live war taking place with our people. I don't got time to pacify you, because people die from that. You know what I'm saying? Because you hesitant, you bull crap, and you trying to straddle the fence. I don't have time for that. You know what I'm saying? Get out of the way, right? Because they hanging out, they hanging black people in 2020. You know, I don't have time for it. You know what I'm saying? So people, if you don't have it in you, you're not gonna be able to stay in my presence. I'm gonna push you out my presence. If you weak, if you cowardly, if you half-stepping, my presence is gonna push you out of my vicinity, and that's okay with me, because I'm doing the work of the ancestors. I stay prayed up. You saw you hit me the other night at midnight. I was up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I was up, man. You know, I was in the lab doing the work. I go to bed 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes. You know, I got time to play no games, and I got a family. I got a full family. I got 5 children and 4 grandchildren. And I got a 77-year-old mother that's still around, and a 76-year-old father that's still around. I have nieces that look to me. You know what I'm saying? So I got a whole plate. I got a wife. I have a whole plate, but at the same time, I know why I'm here now. I'm here, man. I'm here to push in African sovereignty at all costs. There's no compromise. There's nothing that they can give me that make me compromise. Nothing, because I'm not seeking riches. I'm not trying to be on Forbes, you know what I'm saying, billionaire list. That's not what I'm seeking. You know, I'm not saying that. Let me clarify that, because I know when people hear that statement, they think I'm saying that I'm about poverty and impoverishment. No, I'm not saying that I'm about poverty and impoverishment. I'm saying that I'm not seeking. I'm not chasing. You know what I'm saying? I'm seeking something that's going to make sure that all of us are okay. That's my thinking. My thinking is for us, not for me individually. Because if I got $1 billion, then that means that I've deprived a great deal of my people. Simple as that. If I have $1 billion, I have deprived a great deal of my people. Especially if I'm not making that $1 billion, if I'm not leveraging that $1 billion to push forth our sovereignty as a people, I'm no different than the capitalists that's doing what they're doing. You know? If I got $1 billion, say what I give you $10,000 a year. What's that? You know what I'm saying? I give one person $10,000. You know what I'm saying? I pop up in a Baltimore City and I bail out, you see what I'm saying, 3 people, you know what I'm saying, who had a $2,500 bail. You know, I got $1 billion, I come in and do that. You see what I'm saying? I take some pictures and roll out. No, that don't mean anything to me. You see what I'm saying? That don't mean anything to me, because you ain't do nothing. 10,000 from $1 billion is a penny. Simple as that. That's what you just gave. You gave a penny. So my position is a position that we have to be 100% convicted to the sovereignty of African people. And to do that, it requires discipline, it requires study, it requires tactic, strategy, it requires being able to work with other people, it requires a lot of things. The science of organization, you have to know how to organize, you have to know how to do a lot of things to be successful. It's not enough to just wake up angry and you jump out there, because we're not dealing with fools. We're dealing with some highly organized, terroristic people that have perfected the science of violence. That's what we're dealing with. So we just can't jump out there because you're mad and you haven't done no preparation, right? And everybody can't jump out there. So we have to be competent and excellent in multiple things. We have to be scientists, agriculturalists. We have to be organizers. We have to be researchers. We have to be everything under the sun. Every discipline that you can think of is where we have to be at.
Now I see that you have a course. I don't know if it's in motion or it's coming up in regards to anger management. What's the goal of that particular program? And then we could get into the institutions. 'Cause I want to spend a little time kind of unpacking everything that's going on, so people can get a true picture of what's happening.
I appreciate that. So the anger management, which I actually rename and I call it anger regulation. So this is my understanding. So I am certified in what they define as being anger management. I have that certification. But in my class, I don't teach what they teach in anger management. I teach anger regulation. And I look at it like this right here. If you take a person who was kidnapped and held hostage for 20 years, and while they have been held hostage, they was brutalized, raped, abused, tortured, everything under the sun. There's truly only one emotion that's fitting for those circumstances. And that emotion is anger. So anger in and of itself isn't bad. We have to learn how to regulate anger. Anger is not bad. So the way anger is taught and talked about in this society, anger is presented as if it's a deficit to one's character. And that's the reason why when some people are angry, we deny being angry. So in anger regulation, I have this terminology that I say, the denial of anger, rather than allowing anger. And what I'm saying is this: anger and aggression are not the same thing. Anger is the emotion, aggression is the behavior. In most cases, when people talk about anger, they really talk about aggression. They talk about the person who punched the hole in the wall, or the person who knocked all the stuff down, or the person who set the clothes on fire. That's aggression at that point. Anger becomes aggression if anger is not properly regulated. So I teach how to regulate our anger, because we need our anger under these conditions. We need it. You see what I'm saying? So, and we should be okay with being angry. But oftentimes we feel like it's bad. So we find out that a Black person has been, murdered or brutalized in this land. We're afraid to say, man, I'm angry behind that. Because we think that admitting to the anger is a deficit to who we are as a person. So we try to deny that we're angry. And what happens is it turns inward, and multiple times we find how we express it on one another. So in anger regulation, it's about understanding anger and properly being able to channel anger and utilizing it as an energy that can propel you for positive results. That's what I teach, because that's what got me through prison. And I'm clearly sane, and I'm healthy. I have great tolerance and great patience overall, but I'm forever angry. But you'll never know it, because I regulate my anger and utilize it to compel and mobilizes and motivates me to do what I do. My anger. I am totally and absolutely angry by what's happening to African people in this world. I'm angered by that, and I use that anger to move forward. So all my books have been produced from anger. My lectures are produced from anger, you know, but yet there's a love for my people that's tied into it. So the reason I'm angered is because I love. So it's my love and my affiliation and my affinity to African people. And when I see us in the conditions that we're in, I'm hurt and I'm angered. So my anger is generated because of the love that I have for African people. So that's anger regulation. And currently, the idea is to teach that every month, one Saturday. It's a full class session that I'm going to do every month. Currently, I don't have any classes coming up in the month of August, so I'll probably resume in September.
And where can people sign up for the classes?
They can ask a great question. They can reach me on. They can sign up through Facebook. So it's actually an anger regulation Facebook page. If they go to anger regulation, or they can inbox me directly on Facebook, and I can direct them from there.
So for the people that are taking the course, you know, are there some stories that you could share with us about, you know, because our enemies capitalize off of misdirection and misguidance. You know what I mean? So they show you things on purpose, and they calculate and they capitalize off of your misunderstanding of you as it relates to someone who looks like you. So they can show you that video of George Floyd. They can show you Sandra Bland. They can show you, any number of those things. And then you'll see a straight divide in people's response to it, or reaction, not response, because the response is something else. We know how to respond appropriately to threats. Right. We eliminate them. So the reaction causes a divide. So you say, he must or she must have done something in order for this to happen, right? So you divorce yourself from it on that side, the reaction, versus the response. The reaction is everybody sitting around with their camera phone filming it instead of a response that requires an action, So for the people who have taken the course, or the people that you may have worked with over the years in regards to anger regulation, what are some things that you can share with us about the particular outcomes that people may have shared with you?
So great question. So I'm gonna just pull from like the latest class. So the latest class was this past June. And at the end of the session, I asked that question because I wanted to know. And I had a young man in there. He was the youngest person actually. He was actually 20 years old. And his mother signed him up. So I noticed that the first class, he was real quiet, taciturn, and engaged. But the second class is a little bit opened up. By the third class, he opened up. But the fourth class, he really talked a whole lot. So I asked everybody, I said, so give me some feedback on, your takeaways from anger regulation. And he weighed in. And one of the things he said is that he realized now that because of taking a class, he was able to respond to situations, that normally would anger him and probably get him in a bad place. He said he was able to respond differently because he understood that he wasn't a bad person because he was angered by this particular situation. He said, I realized that I wasn't a bad person because I was angered. He said, so therefore I didn't react. He said, what I did is I just channeled that anger and I used it to compose myself and to move a different way. And I felt like that was really insightful to know that this young man who, when he did talk about it, he said, because in the past I would react. And that's the reason why he said, that's the reason why I think my mother signed me up, because she know I always, I would just, explode. He said, but I didn't do that, and I attribute that to this class. And it was a mama that was on there. And she also had a situation where she was just explaining how she was always labeled as someone that was the need to manage their anger, so on and so forth. But she said she felt like, taking a class, it gave her a broader perspective on anger, and it allowed her to process her situation differently. And her case was her husband was, involved with, Europeans for the most part. And she was just saying how, now through this class, she's able to deal with that situation differently. Granted, angered, but not necessarily allowing the anger to compel her to do things that will make her appear to be the bad person. But now I'm angry, but now I understand that I can use my anger as and channel this particular way and get a positive result. And so those were the two that really stood out the most to me. Others came in and shared, but I just thought that those real life situations, it meant a lot because they was able to elaborate on how they used the awareness from anger regulation and applied it in situations that they normally would react to.
I think that's very important. I wanted to ask about this stigma that's associated. Since we're in anger, I want to, kind of stay there for a second. Angry black man, angry black woman, angry black child syndrome that we kind of, get boxed into here in the Americas. Can you kind of speak to those? Because I know you go into words and you like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, where are we at truly with this whole situation?
Now that's a great question, and and that came up in the course of time. And this is how I answered that question when it came up. I asked the question this way right here. I said, if a person experienced death in their family, everybody expect them to express the emotion of grief or mourning. And we understand it, and that's okay. If a person win the lottery, we expect the emotion of surprise or joy. If a person meets somebody that they say, that's my soulmate, we expect them to show the emotion of love. Anger is the only emotion that Europeans have taken control of, because anger can be used to move you to positive results. So Europeans have created a negative connotation surrounding anger as an emotion. And they have took that connotation and made anger a negative. They made anger a deficit. So the angry black child or the angry black woman or the angry black man that they talk about, right? In reality, it's in their right state of mind, because you should be angered under these conditions. We just need to know how to better regulate the anger as it's coming up. You know what I'm saying? So we can be in control and we can use the anger. But we should be able to, if a person came to me, you know what I'm saying, he was upset, and I said, what you upset for? Because when I got robbed, he hit me in the head with the gun. You know what I'm saying? He took all my clothes from me, right? And then, he took my wife. I'm supposed to understand his anger. I shouldn't tell him, well, you shouldn't be angry. I should understand why he's angry, right? So what's the difference? When we come and I'm upset because of the fact that you took my people from Africa, you enslaved us, you brutalized us, you raped our women, you done all this. So why don't you understand my anger? It's the same situation, right? So we have to take back how we perceive and process anger, because the European have monopolized the perception of anger. And what they have been able to do successfully is provide a negative connotation with anger. And we have to be clear that anger and aggression are not the same thing. Anger can become aggression, but it's not necessarily aggression. Aggression is the behavior, anger is the emotion. And emotions are just that, emotions. They just emotions. Emotions are the physical things that the body experiences as a result to some type of stimuli. Whether that stimuli is what you make up in your mind or something that you directly experience. If you perceive yourself to be under attack, you know what I'm saying, the emotion of anger gonna come in, because anger allows you to protect yourself. If you perceive a threat, if you perceive that you being harmed, you will get angry, right? Anger is just a natural emotion. We have to understand that as being such, and don't allow the anger to become aggression, not unless the aggression is necessary. But that requires self-discipline. So it's another layer to it that I talk about. I talk about the need to have self-discipline, because the discipline is what allows you to properly regulate the anger. It's the discipline.
I love it. I just wanted you to speak to that, because everything we deal with in regards to emotions and to our experience comes along with a set of psychosis or psychology or some kind of patterns of behavior. Just like you said,
Yeah.
you go from anger to aggression. You're going to act. You're going to act, and acting, may be in your best interest for you to act. Inaction may be in your detriment, but you will have to know the difference because these are not, exclusive. It's a dance in between. So
That's right.
know when to act and know when to not. That's another tool where discipline comes in. I keep myself in a state of being to where amongst my people I have patience and love. I have patience and love. I don't take none of their stuff, but I got patience and love. You understand what I'm saying? Everything else is reserved for my enemy.
That's right.
For our enemies, like directly, they get it very, very direct. Even in silence, they get it direct. They know not to come here. You understand? They know not to come here. So it's not a situation to where I got to try to be a certain kind of way. I present myself as I am, and they see that. They understand that. The misfits try to fake it to make it out here. You'll be in the body bag long before you're in the body bag out here, trying to fake it to make it. It'll kill you trying to fake it. You present yourself as yourself, and they understand because they know what it is. Everybody's violent until someone more violent comes into the spectrum. Now you got to reassess your violence. So it changes the energy. You see what I'm saying? So you have that understanding. And, our labor of love is the protection and the continuation of African people, the sanctity of the African family. So this is why we're moving forward. So how are you going to deal with that kind of aggression? It's not the same way as like, oh, I'm trying to take something or whatever. Like, nah, you violated my family and I'm coming for you. Good luck. Good luck trying to stop. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the mind frame that, where we need to insurrect back to.
That's right.
If you disrespected any sister in my family, I don't care what they said to you. If I thought you did, I was raised like that. I'm coming for you. And I don't really have too much discussion about anything. I don't care what happened. I don't care what happened. So it's like that, but I had to learn, the discipline of when and where and how. So that's what I had to learn over the years, because being a protector in the family, what it is. So, in preparation for protecting, families later on in life, and this task of, African people is very different, very, very, it pull on every aspect of you, So ancestrally, you have to be guided a certain kind of way. Emotionally, you have to be regulated a certain kind of way. And your chin going to get tested. You want to be in this spot? They're going to test your chin to see if they made the right choice. So it's a myriad of things that go along with it. So I totally identify. Just wanted to take a moment to respond appropriately. So let's get into these institutions. We have a few institutions that you have Watoto Development Center. You got Sankofa Institute of Enhanced Learning. You got African Awareness Critical Thinking Study Class. You got the Urban Youth Initiative Project. You got the Ipet Isu Bookstore and Cultural Center. You got Wake Up and Rise Up Sisters. So I want to give you some time to go into each institution.
So what I would like to do, I'm going to start with the Wake Up, Rise Up Sisters movement. And I'm going to start there because that's actually a movement that was founded by my wife, Ife Fatiu. And she wrote a book. Her book is called Wake Up, Rise Up Sisters. So she started this movement. And this movement is what we would define as being, it's a multi-self-development movement for Black women. And the focus is the multi-self-development aspects of womanhood. So she deals with the spiritual wellness. We deal with the emotional wellness, psychological wellness, deal with the physical wellness, the nutritional wellness. There's not anything under the sun that's not, it doesn't touch. And it's specifically for Black women. And you can be a part of this movement anywhere in the world. You don't necessarily, it's not necessarily a membership-based type of thing, you know what I'm saying? But it is a commitment-based type of movement. Like just this month, in the month of July, they was doing a wellness and reset challenge where they was doing every day. They was required to do a certain amount of cardio, and it was required to do a certain amount of squats, things like that, and you know, and basic study and things of that nature. So she do some every month. She do an annual conference. This year it might end up being virtual this year because of this situation. She do a lot of checking in on the elders. We know we're in Baltimore City, but she literally takes different women, and they travel to go to our elders. They go to Atlanta to Mama Ra. They go to Mama Viketti. I mean, they would go to Philly with Mama Akoswa before she transitioned and spend time and things like that. This is what she's been doing, and she's been doing this work side by side since she started that. Since she wrote that book, is when she initiated that movement. But her love for Black women have always been there since we've been doing this work together. So she and I met in 2005, and we've been together ever since, straight nonstop. There haven't been a breakage in our relationship. You know, so we haven't experienced get the F out my house or go lay on the couch, or we haven't experienced none of that. You know, it's been a straight rocking and rolling for Black people since we've been together, and we believe that, and we believe in our hearts, you know what I'm saying, that we represent a great model of African manhood and African womanhood in union together. So I wanted to start there because I believe that a lot of the work that we have to do is surrounding the work of the women. And I'll say that because in most cases, the man spends more time outside of the house, inside the house, when you're doing this work. And if you're having children, your children spend a significant amount of time with their mothers, a significant amount of time. So I just think that the work that women can do is just instrumental. And we have to always hold that work up and always support that work. And to the best of my ability, that's what I do. You know, so I know I'm all over the place. I'm multitasking. I got my hand on a lot of things, but I'm always, to the best of my ability, trying to make sure that I support my wife and the things that she's doing, you know, for our organization as it returns to the arm that's committed to the development of Black women. You know, it's not and let me say this, and this is what I've watched for 15 years. It's tricky. Working with women in the United States of America is a tricky business. It's a tricky business because we have been put through so much as a people, right? That women, and I'm speaking from a 15-year experience. This is not what I watched on TV. I'm telling you what I watched firsthand in my own organization. In my own organization. My wife has struggled the entire time in this organization with other women. And that's really why she goes so hard with this movement, because women, it's tricky to get them to work together and to be able to just say, you know what, I'm in support of what you're doing, you know, because so much competitiveness have been put into our women, you know, and that's real life. And like I say, that's not TV. This 15 years of me being in a relationship and doing an organization for 15 years. I've seen it, you know, but I know the beauty and the power of our women. And that's the reason why I always support women get together, do this, be with each other, support each other, pat each other on the back. You know, so that's why I wanted to start there in terms of the institutions. So I hope I've done some justice in regards to the Wake Up, Rise Up Sisters movement.
Okay, we got Watoto Development Center.
So my wife just sent me a message and told me make a correction. I did try to make the correction, but a correction is that the movement started before her book. And I thought I did say that. I said that she been doing that work her entire time, you know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna be correct. She said the movement started before the book. The book just helped to give it the name and the exposure. Stand correct. But and that's why you need a good partner, you know what I'm saying? That's rocking and rolling. But in terms of the Watoto Development Center. So that's the child care center. It's called a child care center because that's just how it's in terms of business. That's how it's organized. It's organized that way. But the work that go on there, you can pretty much call it a miniature school for toddlers and infants, if you will. So that was pretty much started. Let me back up so I can be 100% correct. So my sister-in-law, which is also a member of the organization, she has been in the child care business for, I don't want to mess her years up, but I'm gonna say 20 years, and I might be off, so don't quote me, but I know it was before. I've been in society almost 16 years, and she's been doing it before I even came into society. So I'm gonna give her 20 years. She's been doing that work, and my wife have been working with her in that field, off and on for about probably like 16 years, or give or take. I might have messed her years up also, so don't quote me on the years. But once they begin to evolve and grow, things begin to change, and it was like a home daycare center, and then the thoughts began to expand, saying we want to do an actual daycare center facility wise. So I believe probably around 2011, around that time, they founded Watoto Development Center. So the two women went out, put the footwork in, found a location, found the building, facilitated all of that, and started Watoto Development Center. And it just been growing ever since from then. We done had many Black children who have come through there and get introduced to African-centeredness in terms of Kiswahili, the language. They get sign language. They learning to read. They doing math. We talking about all this is at 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds. That's in 1-year-olds. That's what we talking about. And then we're not in there watching no Barney and just sitting around watching no TV and languishing. None of that. If you go inside this Watoto Development Center, you see children in there as if they was in school. Because we have to develop our babies. They got to be developed. And that's what takes place there. You know what I'm saying? They learn. They read. They learn about Harriet Tubman and Malcolm X and Marcus Garvey. They learn about the RBG, the flag. And they can tell you about Kwame Nkrumah. You know what I'm saying? When was Ghana, the country Ghana got its independence? 1957. You know what I'm saying? They know this stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like, wow, man. And that's women doing that. You know what I'm saying? They had a man, I believe, one time, and I don't know how long he stayed there, but for the most part, this institution's entire existence have been organized, facilitated, and executed by Black women. Black women teaching Black babies and Black toddlers and producing great outcomes. So that's Watoto Development Center. And another thing, I'm going to say this too. You don't find a lot of institutions that close during Kwanzaa. So like for us, you know what I'm saying? Like for us, we're closed. It's closed during Kwanzaa. So we can sort of, because see, in order to build sovereignty, we have to institutionalize the things that mean stuff to us. And we can't always let the Europeans dictate the time. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be in a position when you set these things up, you can't model the European way. And I think that's the mistake we tend to make. We set schools up and stuff up, right? And everything want to be modeled after Europeans. No, set it up, but then set your own standards. How it's going to be. Create your own holidays. Like we got Black African holidays when they closed. That's how it's set up in that place. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we have to be able to do, right? And that's the beauty of it. Because you start doing that, you start teaching babies the importance of recognizing those things that matters to Black people.
All right, so we got the Sankofa Institute of Enhanced Learning.
Now, the Sankofa Institute of Enhanced Learning is the only institution that's not, I would say, physically operational, because what that's going to be our that's going to be a school. And the focus of that is children ages 6 through 10. So the way that's going to be set up is that it's going to be set up based on the age grades. So 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds will be educated together. 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds will be educated together. If the 8-year-old is strong, then he or she will get bumped up to the 9 and 10-year-olds. If the 8-year-old isn't strong, then he or she will get bumped down to the 6 and 7-year-olds. So we're currently on our website. You'll see something on there that says support seal, because we're currently doing a fundraiser, an ongoing fundraiser to raise the funds to actually open this up. We have successfully to date raised $30,000 towards that effort. You know, and we're still just trying to raise the funds, because once we raise the funds, we're going to really open that. And then we're going to have, you know, we got, like I said, we got Watoto Development Center, and that's children ages 6 months to 5 years of age. We got the nonprofit youth organization, but that's programmatic. That's more programmatic. That focuses more on character development and things like that, right? So we need an academic institution as well. And so that's what the Sankofa Institute of Enhanced Learning is going to be designed to do. Yeah, I appreciate it, my brother. So that's the basis of the Sankofa Institute for Enhanced Learning. And we're going to rock it out because we got experience with educating and developing Black children. We have experience in that regard. So we're not just, it's not something that we're winging. It's not something that we just shooting from our hip with. It's something that we have had years of educating Black children. You know, me and my wife, we educate our children together. And our children are excellent. I'll give an example. My 7-year-old, when our 7-year-old, you know, he's doing beginning fractions. You know, he's pretty much massive division, multiplication. He got multiplication down. You know, his spelling words that we work with him with are from the SAT words. So he began to spell SAT words and things of that nature. You know, he read. Then with my 3-year-old, we go through this book. It's called African Folklore. So we read this African Folklore book, and after we read the book, I ask them questions like, what did you learn from it? What was the lesson? What was the moral of this story? That's one of the ways in which we cultivate critical thinking. So Black children can be educated by Black people. You know, you just have to be, and I use education uniquely and distinctively different from teacher. I'm saying an educator, the individual that understand the Black mind, they got a love for Black children, that know how to tap into the essence of Black children and bring out their essence. So it's a total difference. But yeah, so that's what we're doing. We're trying to get that school up in operation. So, you know, anybody that want to support, you know, a great effort, a great initiative, you know, please, you know, commit to supporting this right here. It's going to be located in Baltimore City.
Dr. Bobby, you're right. Peace be upon him, said there's a difference between education and training.
Yeah. Big difference. And a lot of people have been trained, not educated. So that's why our thinking is, one of the things I learned in the mid-90s is that thinking is an art. Thinking is something that has to be taught. You have to think, you have to teach people, or children rather, you know, how to actually think. You know, we come to the world with the potential to be thinkers, but every person isn't necessarily a thinker. You know, so we have to be able to teach that and instruct people in the ways that's going to help them open up their faculties of thought. Because once that is successfully done, it's nonstop after that.
So let's talk about the UrBan Youth Initiative Program.
Okay, so the UrBan Youth Initiative Project, that's a nonprofit. It's a 501c3 youth organization. And for those naysayers that may be listening, let me clarify some things. There's not a single string in this organization that can be or have ever been pulled by anybody. I know a lot of times we say, man, you know, them nonprofits, man, they this, that, none. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna tell you from firsthand experience, you know, so I have received grants before, but no one ever dictated how and what I can do with it. You know what I'm saying? No, because when I sit down and talk to anybody that say they want to give a grant, I let them know who I am and what I stand for, and I let them know how this money is going to be utilized. You know, so my string has never been pulled. So it's a 501c3. And the reason why it's a 501c3 because through my experience of dealing with people, a lot of Black people that do want to give, they want to be able to do it right on. Because like I say, that's the way we orientate. You know, and to be honest, the people that's conscious and the ones that say they knowledgeable and the ones that say they want sovereignty, we ain't forthcoming in terms of giving. You know, some of us understand. So let me be clear. You know, I'm gonna break it down like this right here. If you had 100 of us that say we want sovereignty, you probably get about 25 to 30 that understand the need to give and support. The rest of them is just about this right here. And that's what I've learned over 15 years. You know what I'm saying? But the Black people that do want to give are the ones that we over critique. They the bougie ones. You see what I'm saying? They want to give, but they want to give to an organization they can get a write-off on. So you got to set it up. So when we first organized our nonprofit in 2006, we didn't seek the 501c3 status until 8 years later. You know, and typically, you normally do that in the first 2 years. We didn't go at the 501c3, but for those 8 years, it was a major struggle, man, major struggle, major. You know what I'm saying? You literally coming out your pocket doing the work. You know what I'm saying? My sister-in-law at the time, she had a 15-seat passenger van that she allowed us to use to transport the children around. My wife driving the children around. I'm talking about 2007 and 2008, driving 15 and 20 children. We driving from Baltimore all the way over to Ohio. You know, no one supporting this effort, coming out our own pocket to pay gas, to stay in hotels, because people want to be able to do a write-off. That's the thinking. The people that say they in the movement do not understand the necessity of giving. They just don't. You know what I'm saying? So 8 years in, man, look, man, let's do this right here. Did the 501c3, was able to start getting some little support, got some grants and things like that to continue to do the work that we do. You know, but even to this day, you see what I'm saying? We are very selective on the different type of grants that we may even seek to go after. We still really try to rely on what we can raise on the ground on our own, and we rely on any help that's coming from our people for the most part. But UIP principally is organized to foster the character development and the cultural awareness of Black children. The basis of that is to center Black children within themselves, to encourage them to challenge themselves to be the best Black children that they are destined to be. And the only way that Black children can be the best Black children that they are destined to be, Black children have to understand their culture. Black children have to understand their history. Black children have to understand their connection to a larger community. If you release Black people into the world and they are devoid of those three things, they will not and they cannot work totally in the best interest of Black people. The only way you can work in the interest of Black people is when you see you are connected to Black people. When you see yourself as being another Black person. When you look at Black people and recognize and realize that you're looking at yourself. If you do not have that understanding, you're not going to work for us totally and absolutely. And I realized that we have to get to the children because a lot of the adults, we're not going to bring them back. I realized a long time ago, a lot of us are beyond repair. A lot of us are beyond repair. And that's the truth. And these are harsh realities that I wrestled with over the years. But I was able to get clarity because I stayed prayed up with the ancestors. I stay prayed up, communicating with the ancestral realm. And when I'm in the shower and I'm getting peace of mind with the steam, I use essential oils and things of that nature. I'm always I'm seeking clarity, like what is going on, ancestors? Help me understand my people. And it took me a minute to get to this realization. Some of us, not all of us, are beyond repair. In spite of the fact that some are beyond repair, I still know that we will win. So I don't bank our winning on those that's beyond repair. because I understand something about warfare. In any level of warfare, you're always going to have, and I'm quoting Dr. Maulana Karinga here. It's something that he said that I hold on to. He said you're always going to have collaborators that's going to work with the other side. You're going to have traitors that's going to go to the other side. And you're going to have people who just going to just go as far as they can go and quit. You're going to have that. All of us not going to keep going, because we're not built to keep going. And I accept that reality. But so in understanding that most of the adults that I have encountered, and I haven't encountered a whole lot because there's a lot of us in the world. So I'm just saying, from my small vantage point, those who I've encountered, some of those are just beyond repair. So I said, let's get these children. So it's the children. So that's the reason why we got the UrBan Youth Initiative Project, and we're trying to focus on their character development and their cultural awareness. When you get those two pieces together, everything else is a walk in the park. It's a walk in the park. So for us with UIP, it's all programmatic. We do some academics. If we get children that need to be caught up in their reading and math and things like that, we'll do that. But that's not the principal reasoning for that particular institution. That's the reason why we said we need to do the Sankofa Institute for Enhanced Learning, so we can focus on those other areas. Was that clear, my brother?
That was crystal clear.
All right, thank you,
That was
sir.
crystal clear. And I know that people want to talk their noise, and they want to regurgitate stuff that they heard from some other people, and they ain't did no research. They might have heard somebody say something slick in these fake debates we have. They might want to hear some of that foolishness, but they don't know what's at work. And you got to deal with that sometimes.
Yes.
And yeah. Stop listening to these slick talkers, and let's insulate the real ones out here. All right, so we got the African Awareness Critical Thinking Study Class.
Now, that institution been in existence since we founded that October 7th, 2007. And what that is, that's principally, it's an African-centered study class that focuses on the study, analysis, and synthesis of African history and culture in all things pertaining to African people. The principal reason why we want to do that is because we want to look at ourselves historically in comparison to who we are today, in an effort to extract the best of who we were so we can be the best of who we are to be today. So that ongoing study process is about self-development, self-awareness, spiritual awareness. It's about transformation. And you can only transform African people by exposing African people to themselves in the most rawest, authentic way possible. And so our emphasis, like, you got some people who want to study everything under the sun. We don't know. I'm not going to try to teach you to learn about a bunch of other people. So I'm not trying to teach you how to be a Buddhist. I'm not trying to teach you how to be a Confucianist. No, if you come inside the African Awareness and Critical Thinking Study class, it's clear. It's 1,000% about Africa. Simple as that. It's 1,000% about Africa. So if you come in here and you bring anything in here, there's any foreign ideas in here, it's going to be combated with African ideals and ideas. Because we have to know who we are. Because propaganda will have us to believe that we have not contributed anything and that we don't have anything. I'll give you an example. Black people are always saying things like this right here. Well, black people, we don't have no spiritual books, like the Bible or the Quran. We say things like that. That's a foolish statement, because our enemies have made us to believe that what they deem to be their religious books are, in fact, the books by which all other books must be measured or gauged. That's foolishness. When you start looking into African history and culture, you will see that we have works that have been designed and crafted by our own people. That's for us. you know? And that's what we need to understand. We got to stop trying to always juxtapose our stuff beside the things and the stuff of the enemies, because their stuff is just for them. It's not the stuff. It's not the thing by which all things or everything else has to be measured. So that's a foolish statement to say, well, African people, we don't have religious books. You just don't know how to go to look for the African spirituality. You see what I'm saying? Everything about Africa and African people is spiritual. That's the difference. You know what I'm saying? It's not just inside a book or one book. Our entire existence is spiritual. That's the difference between us and everybody else. See, for African people, spirituality blooms and blossoms out of African culture. It subsequently permeates the entire culture. So it's not a single thing that you can do within African culture that's not essentially spiritual. Not a single thing. So when you understand that, you know that when you sit down at night, in an African context, you demonstrate spirituality. You know when you're giving offerings, you're doing spirituality. You know when you're reading the writings of Imhotep, you know that's spiritual. You notice when you're reading something that the king of Ghana may have said in terms of how he organized and structuralized ancient Ghana. You listen to spiritual words. You know that when Asantewaa says that if the men won't stand up, then we the women will go forth. That's a spiritual declaration. You understand that? You know what I'm saying? That's a spiritual declaration. That wasn't something that's a trite thing. That wasn't something that was egotistically said. You see what I'm saying? That was something that the ancestors moved through her and said, this is what you must do. So say it, declare it. And she moved out on it. So when you understand our way, you know that everything about us is spiritual. Everything. Excuse me, 1 second. That book in the little one right there, the little teeny one. Behind you. The little teeny behind the floor. Yes. That's right. So that's what it is. So when people says that, I help them to understand, like, granted, the Bible is for who it's for. The Quran is for who it's for. But please do not believe that they are the standards by which spirituality or religion, if you want to use that word, is to be judged. Because there's a unique difference between spirituality and religion. See, the Bible, whether you're talking about the Torah and Judaism, you know what I'm saying, the Injil, and dealing with Christianity or the Quran and Islam, those are religions. That's what they are. They're religions. And they belong to other individuals. Now, I know some of us gonna jump on here and be like, well, black people did this, that, and other. Those the basic tenets of those religions come from Africa. I get all of that. But I'll say this right here. When a thing leaves its essential source, and it stays away for a very long time, and while it's away, if it's transformed and it no longer resembles the original, then that thing within that transformation is a new thing. And that's what we got to understand. You know what I'm saying? Because both the Bible and the Quran talk bad about Kemet. So don't tell me that stuff in those books is ours, right? Don't tell me about that. Now, I understand the precepts and the concepts that laid the basis to it, right? But those things are something totally different. Totally different. You know what I'm saying? When you start studying the ways of the African people, we didn't propagate half of that stuff that's in those books. So let those people who had those books, let them have those books. We don't have to fight for that. We got the best because we were the first. We got to fight for that. Let them have it. That's what I tell you. For me, it's 1,000% African. A lot of people can't get with that. Like I said the other night, they said, well, you're being dogmatic. You know what? I'm okay with being dogmatic. As it pertains and relates to my people, you should be dogmatic too then. Right? So I'm not going to let you make me think that dogmatic is bad when it pertains to how I am about my people. You know what I'm saying? Call me what you want to call me. Because whatever you call me, as it relates to my people, is a compliment. So I am dogmatic. You see what I'm saying? I'm head over heels for the African people. Because I know we don't need anybody else. We don't need what anybody else have created. We don't need their stuff. We don't need their Quran. We don't need their Bible. We don't need, the Habara Gisa. So we don't need their stuff. You know what I'm saying? So let all those people have all their stuff. All we need is what our ancestors laid down.
If you watch him, you see why he needed his own time. You understand? Needed his own time. You know, you could do stuff in the coalition force, but you got to give the due when it's there. So let's see. We got the Ipet Isu bookstore and Colchester.
Yeah, so that's pretty much that's what it's evolving into right now. Those a part of our book inventory. A person can get to that through our organizational website. But we're currently in the process of developing an online bookstore, which at some point will become an actual book, brick and mortar store. That we got some ideas for how we want this bookstore to actually look. But right now, it's through our website, and at some point, hopefully by the end of this year or beginning of next year, to be its own separate institution online bookstore. And the reason why we want to do a bookstore is because our people need to study more. We need to read, and we need to have access to this material. And we need institutions that's going to promote reading, that's going to promote, trying to inform yourself, but not just to inform yourself, just to be informed. Because I like to make this distinction. The acquisition of a thing isn't as valuable as the utilization of that thing. Let me clarify. You and me both can possess a 9mm handgun. We can purchase them at the same time. I purchased mine. I put it on the shelf. I never pick it back up. I never test it. I never break it down. I never learn how to put it together. I never order. I never do anything. But however, you get yours, you break it down, you keep it clean, you go out to the range, you testing it, so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? We both possess a 9mm handgun. We won't be able to utilize it the same. You'll be more efficient at utilizing it than me. So the value of a thing is not always in the possession of that thing. The value in the thing is in the utilization of that thing, how it's being utilized. So I encourage people not just to be out here chasing information. Be very selective about what you're reading. Malcolm X said this. A lot of people talk about, Malcolm X reading all these books in the library. We say a lot of things, right? But this is what Malcolm X said. Malcolm said, he said, there came a point in time with my reading that I no longer read books aimlessly. I began to read more selectively. A lot of people read aimlessly because they chasing information, because they believe the acquisition of the information possesses the value. It's not the acquisition, it's the utilization. So Malcolm realized that himself, so he became more selective. When you selectively read, you can begin to build the edifice in which you are to become. The edifice in which you are to become, you can build because you're selective about what you're putting in. Because what you put in and you learn to utilize that is what you essentially transform into. So what I am is what I selectively put inside of me. I didn't just read it. There are some books that I've never read, and I will never read them because they're just garbage. It's a misuse of my time. And there are some books that I've read that I wish I never read because they was no good. I'll give you an example. I read the book called The Unseen Hand. I read this book in 1994. I wish I never read that book. It's a bunch of garbage. The New World Order, it's a bunch of garbage. A bunch of Europeans propagating a bunch of garbage, right? Unnecessary information. So I learned how not to be so aimless, just grabbing, right? I said, you got to be very selective. So I said, I wanted a revolutionary mind. You know what I done? I studied damn near every single revolution that took place in the 20th century. From the first one that failed in 1905 in Russia. That first attempt in 1905, it failed. And that's when the split came, the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks. There was a split. And then the 1917 revolution was more successful. So all those revolutions at that time period, you know what I'm saying? The Spanish War in the late 1800s, you see what I'm saying? With Antonio Maceo and General Gomez and, you know what I'm saying? All that, I had to study all of that. I had to understand, how revolutionaries thought, you know what I'm saying? And then get into Africa, you know what I'm saying? To study, you see what I'm saying? The revolutions in Tanzania with Julius Nyerere, you know what I'm saying? The Patrice Lumumba, the Kwame Nkrumah, you know what I'm saying? The Jomo Kenyattas in Kenya, all that stuff, man. I had to read all that stuff selectively, you know what I'm saying? And go through it. The Cuban Revolution, The first attempt failed. A lot of people don't know that. The first attempt failed, and they was actually captured. You know, but they was given amnesty and kicked out the country. Some of them reconvened in Mexico. They went through a different form of training. They met some guys that was from Vietnam and began to train. They began to rethink some things through. That's when Che Guevara met Castro. He met Castro in Mexico. And from there, they started talking this, that, and other, you know what I'm saying? And they went back there and they had a success. But I had to look at all of that, man. What was going on? Even Che Guevara's failure in Bolivia, yet it was successful in Cuba. You know what I'm saying? He ran the same Facu theory. Why didn't this Facu theory work in Bolivia, but it worked in Cuba? I had to look at that. You know what I'm saying? The time that he spent in Angola, you know what I'm saying? He was a part of Angola. You know, he was over there, you know what I'm saying? So I had to look at all these things and understand, like, what this is all about. And then I said, well, damn, you working with people that have been oppressed so long, you got to understand something about their psyche. So now I got to do what? I got to read Bobby Wright. I got to read everything Frantz Fanon put out. You know what I'm saying? I got to read Francis Cress Welsing, Dr. Wade Nobles, Kobe Cambone. I had to read all this, you know what I'm saying? Joyce Myers, you know what I'm saying? You name it. You know what I'm saying? Almost every single African person that's talking about the psyche of Black people, Dr. Amos Wilson, I had to read and study, book by book by book, and make some sense out of that stuff, you know what I'm saying? And that's being selective. Wow, you got other people that's just jumping around grabbing books, you know what I'm saying? They go to a lecture, a person quote this book, they buy that book, they trying to read that book. Before they complete that book, they want to another lecture, they heard this book by that person, I go get that book. So then they got all these books sitting around and they reading a chapter here, a chapter there. They got bits and pieces of information. And you can't use none of it. Before you know it, 10, 15 years gone by, and all you got is a bunch of bits and pieces of information. You have no organized, systematic thought process. You have no new concepts. You're not adding on. You're not building because you wasn't very selective about how you read. You know, so that's the reason why, you know, the EPEC Soup bookstores coming into existence, because I want to be a proponent of encouraging people to learn through reading selectively, not aimlessly, because this is not a rat race. You know what I'm saying? We're not in this is not a competition. It's not a competition. This is serious business and serious work. And when you're trying to get things done, you have to be about the business of investing in the work. You got to really invest in this work. So I think about the amount of money that I have invested in books over the last 15 years. You know what I'm saying? You know, I invested over $25,000 in books. Not at one time, because I don't have that kind of money laying around. I'm just saying, when I add up, you know what I'm saying, the money that I paid for my books, and I'm looking at a library of damn near 1,200 books, and I'm looking at the fact that I spent like $15 to $20 per book. Some books, $200. Like, come on now, man. You have to be committed to growing, evolving, and transforming, and grounding yourself within your way. You know, for me, it's about pushing out every element of the European, every ounce of the European concepts has to go. You know, every time something slip up inside me and I identify that stuff that's still lingering around, I stomp it straight out. You know, I'm on a path to become the best African that I can become. When it's all said and done, that's all you got to say is that brother there, man, he was serious, he was committed, and he was an excellent African. That's all you need to say. You know, and wherever I stop that, you know, if you can pick up that work and continue it, then just pick it up and continue it. You know, keep it going. So that's what it comes down for me. You know, so that's why we're trying to do that bookstore. That's I'm committed to that. You know, I'm highly committed to that. And I take studying and researching and transformation, I take that seriously. I don't play any games. So when a person reach out to me and asks me, you know, help them, this, that, and other, my time is extremely valuable. Extremely valuable. I'm not necessarily saying in a monetary sense. I'm saying that if you ask me to work with you, I expect you to be serious. You know, if you're not going to extend any type of monetary compensation, but you want me to work with you, then you got to make up by being serious. You can't expect me to work with you and you get it for free, and then you still being insincere. Now that's a slap in the face. Slap in my face. You got to be serious. So you still there, my brother? brother. I guess I keep talking to my audience. It's about transformation and development, self-discipline, and we have to be serious in that regard to bring forth self-discipline. One of the things that I do at night, I tend to stay up late at night, but one of the things I make a habit of doing before I shut my eyes, whether that's midnight, 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., is I do what I define as being introspection. And the way I introspect is I look at how I have behaved that day, and I try to zero in on those moments that was significant. And my reasoning for that introspection is to see if I need to correct anything, to see if I need to enhance anything, to see if I did my best. I do that every night. It's just a part of my overall orientation. I cannot close my eyes at night without introspecting and making sure I've done my best. Like this interview tonight, I will introspect to make sure I did my best, because I don't come here to misuse anybody's time. Anyone that's listening right now, that's watching them, you could be doing something else with your time. So I have to give you my best, and I'm gonna look back at myself and say, did you give your people your best? Did you do your best? Well, you're as clear as you can be, and that's what I'm gonna make sure I did. Introspection. Everyone should do that every night before you go to sleep.
Yeah, my connection was going a little crazy. I don't know if you can hear me clearly now.
I can hear you now.
Take a little moment to hear this love story that happened in 2000.
I guess my brother got some bad connection on his end. So in the meantime, while he's getting that together, I'll take an opportunity. Oh, here we go.
Where to say what you was gonna say, Bob?
Yeah. So in the meantime, I'm just going to just talk while you was getting together. I was just going to emphasize the importance of being serious. And one of the things that I came to realize, like for me, the thinking is always to analyze and to synthesize my experiences. And so I'm trying to understand why. For years, I was trying to figure out why people just not serious, why we're not committing. Then it struck. I realized that when you look at the African culture and the way our societies were set up, in that society, everything was a rite of passage. In some sense, everything was about some type of apprenticeship. You didn't just move into different areas of life without having some type of instruction, some type of guidance, and people allowing you to know that they expect you to be a particular way. It wasn't just loose like over here. So many people that moved into the movement, they haven't been through anything. They haven't been through anything, right? They haven't been in a situation where as though they was accountable to other people, where they was held accountable. They haven't been in situations where people expressed expectations of them. They haven't went through anything that really tried them. They haven't really had any serious responsibilities to build their character, but they stumbled into the movement some kind of way. And so now what we have a lot of people that's in the movement, but essentially they have weak characters. We got people that got weak characters. And so because we got so many people that got weak characters, that's why we lack in the seriousness that's necessary to really raise the level of struggle that truly needs to be raised in this land. You need serious people to wage serious struggle. And that's and our ancestors understood that, and that's the reason why it was required that you go through things. And that's the reason why those societies that you didn't just become a man by virtue of your age or a woman by virtue of your age. You know what I'm saying? You wasn't a human being solely by virtue of being born. The Zulus, let you know that. And you know what I'm saying? Just, a person is a person because of other people. And so our ancestors understood that people has to be shaped and formed. And that's the basis in the business of culture. To shape and form people into the desired product that the culture or society needs to preserve, protect, and perpetuate the best of that culture, that society. Only people can do that. But we live in a society that have removed us from our cultural ways. And a lot of us are just growing up. That's it. We're just growing up by virtue of being human beings. Meaning that each year we get older, physically we change, but we're not necessarily transforming from the inside out because we haven't been put through anything, And that's why I'm not hard. Now listen, disclaimer. I do not agree with the indiscriminate violence that we see displayed in some of our inner city communities by some of our people. I do not agree with that. I do not sanction that. But I will tell you this right here, because I was a product of the streets. What I will say is this. The streets, in its own backwards, deformed way, allows people to develop a sense of character. When you can reach those individuals and bring them to their true mind, they be some of the best soldiers. Because I come from the streets, and I said it all the time, and I don't hide my past. I don't glorify it, but I don't hide it. But I look at how I came up, and it played a big part because I grew up. I grew up with a group of people, so it was a group of us. It was expectations. It was a code. It was things you had to do and things you couldn't do. And if you broke the code, you was held accountable. And sometimes being held accountable was physical. I understood that. But we don't understand that today in the movement. And that's why it's so jacked up. It's jacked up. People come around, but they cannot handle being held accountable because essentially we have children that are adults out here playing games in the movement. We got adult children running around. Emotionally, children. Psychologically, children. Spiritually, children. Socially, children. And if you don't believe me, watch how they behave when they get angry or get upset or get mad. Watch how they behave when you seek to hold them accountable. You'll see the child come out. Because they've never been held accountable before. So they're not accustomed to it. So for me, anyone that's listening, if you're going to be out here and be in the movement, you got to be open for accountability. You can't just be, you got to be open for it. And it doesn't make you less than. It's no strike against you to be held accountable. If you and I sit down as men, we agree upon being a part of this thing, and we say that if you violate, you got to pay $100 in fine. Now, okay, I'm cool. I'm down with that. Dab hands. Violation, $100. The next month, I'm in violation. So you say something to me, I'm going to get it together. I'm in violation the following month after that. And he said, but man, you're in violation. But you got to pay the $100. And I flip out. I don't want to get $100. But you agreed to it. But I agreed to it, but now I don't want to give it up. That's because we've never been a part of anything. Most of us never been put through anything. Most of us don't have character. Most of us are just masquerading, because as human beings, we can imitate almost anything within existence. That's part of our human genius, imitation. So a lot of us just masquerading. You know, that's the reason why we try to hold people accountable. You know, they fall back, they flip it on you, they make it seem like you don't understand them and you doing this, or don't nobody support me, you don't support this. They do all this childish junk to keep from accepting the fact that they have just violated a rule or protocol that they agreed to. And then you can't get the rest of the organization to weigh in because we so afraid to hold people accountable. We think that we weigh in and say, yeah, you know, you was wrong. Now we feel like we siding because we haven't been through anything. We haven't been a part of anything. But I was a part of a group. When I went to prison, it was 7 of us. It was a group of us. We did our dirt together. When we got captured, what they charged me with, I didn't even do. But they knew I didn't do it though. But they wanted me to tell on my crew. Man, I'm not telling on nobody, man. Let's rock this thing out. Let's do this thing. But Mr. So-and-so, you get 20 years for this. That's what it is? That's what it is. You know why? Because I agreed to the protocol of that group. I agreed to the protocol of that group. And no one can come in there and convince me that you should tell this, that, and other. I agreed that the protocol is you get caught, you got to rock and roll with the consequences. So I done 13 years and 9 months essentially for something I didn't do. And this type of thinking got to come back into the movement. So that's why I take my position, because I don't have time for people that's playing games. I don't got time for them. Now I know what it means to be in a street war. You know what I'm saying? I know what it means to be in the beef. So a lot of times these little temper tantrums that people got, they call that a beef. Or you got mad at somebody. Ain't no damn beef. I know what it means to get a phone call in 1990 on a house phone. You get a phone call and they telling you, boy, hey, them dudes on your front porch looking through your window, man. I know what that means. I know what that feels like. When you paralyzed in the wheelchair in the house because of a street war with a 45 on your spinal cord. So I know what it means to be serious. They beefing on Facebook beef or on, you know what I'm saying, YouTube beef. There ain't no damn beef. Want to beef? Cross Baba Imhotep the wrong way. You'll see what beef is. You'll see what beef is. Come on now, we gotta get serious, man. These people's hanging us, man. They hanging us. They dropping drugs in our community. I got a homeboy right now, a buddy of mine right now that's doing 15 years in the federal penitentiary for a handgun. For a handgun that was released back onto the streets by the police. And when the feds picked him up for another charge, they told him this right here. They said, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna give you 15 years. We're gonna drop everything else that you did. We're gonna give you 15 years, but we're not gonna prosecute for these other charges. Because in order for them to prosecute for those other charges, they would have to bring that gun in as evidence. But how are you gonna bring a gun in as evidence that was already a part of the evidence before? Because they told them. They said, we know that you didn't do the homicide that's on this gun, because this gun right here was a part of a homicide that occurred in 2010. In 2010, you was already incarcerated, serving time from 1995. So how did he end up with a gun in 2015 that was a part of a homicide that occurred in 2010 that was already introduced as evidence? And how did he get it? Because the police put it back on the streets. So I know how serious it is out here. I know what they're doing to us. So that's why we gotta get serious. And the men gotta get serious. And men need to hold men accountable and stop playing games with brothers that's not serious. We need to break up the buddy system. Don't let that dude hang out with you. You know his wife. You and his wife cool, y'all okay. But you hanging out with him every weekend and he going over there seeing Jill. And every time you see his wife, how you doing, Cheryl? Girl, everything's good. But yet you complicit to him being disloyal? What does that say about you? Now I know I just threw a stone at a lot of people. Why? I wanted to, right? I want to throw that stone out there because it's time for us to do better. Disloyalty is disloyalty. Men do not deserve a greater degree of loyalty over women. Disloyalty is disloyalty. If you sit down there with her and y'all having sex and you telling her you the one, I love you, we're gonna be together, we're gonna do this, that, and that, you're making what? You're making a pledge. You're making a commitment. But the first chance you get, you chasing everything with two legs, you lying and sneaking, and your buddies, quote unquote buddies, know about that. We got to break the buddy system up. We need disciplined men. We need disciplined men. We don't need brothers that's going to keep on injecting hurt and pain into our community by being disloyal to our women. There's enough hurt and pain inside our communities. We need some brothers that understand what's going on. And we need some men that got the courage to check brothers and don't just sit around, you know what I'm saying, when the dude keep on making them excuses. No, check him. Don't just sit around quiet because he's making an excuse. Check him. He's wrong. So tell him he's wrong. I will. And that's what I have been doing. And I will continue to do it. You know, so I don't know if you can still hear me, my brother, man. I don't want to keep on going on that, but I know you ain't bringing me on here to talk about, you know what I'm saying, the issues with men or, you know, that's cropping up. But I can go there. But I know you ain't bringing me on here for that. But I did want to talk. I did want to share that piece. And if it makes sense to anyone that's listening, man, apply that, man. Give our women's men utmost respect, man. I've never stepped out on my wife and never will. Never. And never will. Because loyalty and honor means something to me. Loyalty and honor, it means something to me. Those things are valuable to me. Loyalty, honor, discipline, integrity, they're valuable. So because it's valuable to me, there's no way that I can do a disservice in regard to any one of those things. I would never do a disservice to honor, loyalty, discipline, integrity. What I do in the daylight, I do at night. What I do at night, I do in the daylight. You ain't got to worry about that. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to catch me laying around smoking or doing nothing, using drugs, nothing. You're not going to catch me doing anything that's against anything that I propagate. If I propagate it, you're not going to catch me doing it. If I say brothers need to be disciplined, you can best believe I'm going to be the first one that's demonstrating a high degree of discipline. I'm not going to tell you what you should be doing. I don't do it. If I say brothers need to, you know what I'm saying, that's fast, brothers. You know what I'm saying? I'm the first one that's leading the charge. Just leading the charge. You know? When I say men need to be working, I'm the first one that's leading the charge. When I say men, you know what I'm saying, need to step out down that front line, I'm leading the charge. That's what this is about. You got to be serious. You know? And yes, you know, race first. Across the board, everything race first. We have no time to be infighting and complaining about what I don't like all black people. I don't love all black people. We don't got time for that because, like I said, on one of my lives a few weeks back, most of us, we love these sports teams. And you don't know everybody on those teams. Some people on the teams you don't even like. But yet you root for that whole team. The whole Lakers. You root for the whole Lakers, the whole Cowboys. And we argue, we beef about the whole Cowboys in Pittsburgh. You know, Ravens in Pittsburgh. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, why can't you root for your whole race? Granted, we know we got some stuff to fix inside the race, but that's no reason not to root for your own race. At the end of the day, I'm rooting for us. You know? When we get sovereign, we can focus on some of that other crap, that junk that some of us think we can bring over there in our sovereign nation. We can work that out. But right now, I'm for us. First and foremost, I'm for black men and black women being together. I'm for black men and black women making families together. I'm not for black men and black men, whatever you want to call it. Check this out. Let me be clear. I don't even believe black men can be in a relationship with black men. Only males of African descent could do that. The moment you elevate to the station in life of manhood, that's not even a part of your thinking. You're not even going to do that. So let me be very clear. Only males engage in that stuff. And there's a distinction between a male and a man. And only females engage in it. And there's a distinction between females and women. So I needed to clarify that, because I'm clear on those points there. So I'm for black men building with black women, not black men trying to justify being over there with their white woman. Well, black women, they too angry, or they just too talking. Man, that's you trying to justify the fact that you just weak in some way in your character. You can't handle a woman. You can't handle a woman. Now, I'm not saying that it's not tough. I'm not saying it's not contentious sometimes. And that's on both sides. That's on both sides. But there's never a justification for the black man to go over to the other side. Never. Never a justification for the black woman to go over to the other side. Never. It's about the black man and the black woman, the black family. You good, my brother? Everything good on your end, my brother?
Can you hear me, Baba?
I can hear you great, my brother. So my brother's connection is going in and out. So I don't know if you can hear me. So because I don't want to talk to a computer screen. Give me some type of indication that you can hear me. Send a comment because I can see the comments. Text my phone, and I'll keep going until our brother get it together. But I need to know that. I need to know that I'm not talking to myself. Let me know what's happening out there. Let me know something, family. Send me a comment. Okay, so I got a text message so y'all can hear me. All right, so I'm gonna keep it going until my brother kicking in, and it's about race first. Like I stopped. It's 100% race first. And what we got to come to understand is that everything in the world is race first. It's race specific. It's species specific. Everything, and that's natural. That's cosmic. It's logical, right? You can't go wrong by putting your people first. You cannot go wrong in that regard. Now, granted, I'm not suggesting that you leave yourself open and you move blindly. What I'm saying is that in the general sense, think about your people first. I'm saying that if you're thinking about doing business, look for black people first. Right? Look for black realtors. If you want to buy a house, then look for a black realtor. Connect with your community. Don't just be reckless. We move recklessly too much. We assume that we don't have things in play already because this is how the European worked it. I put a post on Facebook earlier talking about the distractions. So the European want to make us believe that we don't have things. We do. Just don't be so reckless. Reach out, talk to people, talk to your community, figure out what's what. Get black realtors, get black brokers. Get black healthcare providers. Look for, in addition to some of us, I know some of us still got, jobs. We work on the European plantations, and you probably got, healthcare through them. But in addition, get you some type of holistic doctor as well. That's black. Let's be about black. That's what time it is. The ancestors gave me this vision that the ancestors, like, they put this in my spirit. The time is now. These are some truly historic times. Everything that's happening in the world in relation to black people is because of race, not the black race, because of the white race. So everything that's taking place is already race first. When you read on Facebook or in the news or a notification come to your phone and it say that this black person was just hung, and then they say, well, the suspect or whatever is the quote unquote the Klans, that's a race first initiative. That was a race first initiative. They didn't hang the black man because the black man was black. They want you to believe that. They hang the black man because they are white. And from their perspective, hanging the black man preserved whiteness. That's the point I'm trying to get us to understand. When the police shoot you or shoot us down in the streets, right? Whether it's a black police or white police, that act is not because the person was black. That act is because the power of whiteness has to be preserved. Intimidation has to be instilled. How do you instill intimidation? Be savage and brutal with the people. It's not happening because we're black. No, it's happening because they're white. In the psychosis of whiteness. The psychosis of whiteness is behind why this stuff is happening. Sandra Bland wasn't, murdered in that police station because it was a black woman. We tend to say that, well, they did that because, no, not because she was a black woman, because, I'm saying, to say that is to say, well, damn, being a black woman is a problem in this world. No, man. Being a black woman is a blessing in this world because you birth nations. Nations come through you. We just have to learn to value our black woman more and help her understand her value more. But what happened to Sandra Bland was because of whiteness, not blackness. That white police on the neck of George Floyd was not because he was a black man. It was because he was a white police. And in his mind, my actions are justified because I'm white, and my actions will be supported and backed because I'm white. That's why I'm going to do this. I'm not doing this because he's black. I'm doing it because I'm white. Trayvon Martin. Wasn't because he was a black boy wearing a hood. That's the narrative they're giving us. That white boy hunted him because he was white and he could do so. That's why. So stop that. Well, you wearing a hood. That's their narrative. And we brought it to their narrative. So now you don't put your hood on. No, wear your hood, but strap up too. So when you see the white boy hunting you, hunt him first. Hunt him first. The hunted must become the hunter at some point in this battle. Understand what I'm saying? The hunted must become the hunter at some point. You don't keep walking around allowing yourself to be openly hunted. And the only thing you can do is become petrified. Being petrified does not ensure your survival. Being petrified emboldens the perpetrators. It allows them more time to figure out how to hasten your destruction. Don't be petrified. You know what I'm saying? Do not be petrified. And we can go on. You know what I'm saying? Gone. It wasn't because he was a black man selling what they say, the black man selling loose Newports, and they got it. No. We're looking at it all wrong. No, all wrong. Because he was approached because of the psychosis of whiteness. Even though in some instances you have black people that's executing the destruction of whiteness. You can be an instrument of it. And if you're used as an instrument of whiteness, then you have aligned yourself with whiteness, therefore you are white. I can care less of the melanin that I see up front. Your actions confirms that on the inside, you white, buddy. So you white. And we got to call it as such. We have to rethink how we think about our situation. Anybody that functions in the service of white people is a white person. We're not trying to describe their pigment. We are describing their mentality. You follow me? We have to rethink how we think and reshape our narrative. We have to tell this story from our perspective, not theirs. If you are a pigmented person working in the service of white terrorism, then you're a white person. You're a white person. And we have to understand this such. So nothing happens to us because we're black. Nothing happens to us because we're black. Everything that happens to us is because they're white. And it becomes our responsibility to understand it from that position and begin to prepare and understand the importance of race first. Because everybody's already doing it. Every single curriculum designed in this land at any level is a white curriculum. And the basis of that curriculum is to perpetuate the psychosis of whiteness. Their warped belief that they are superior. You hear what I said? I said their warped belief that they are superior. They're not superior to anything. That's why they envy your pigment. You are the envy of the world. You are the jewel, the pearl of the world. Black man and black woman. Everybody want to be you and be as you are. That's why it's very incumbent upon you to truly know who you are, to come into yourself, get that together. Everybody should be yelling race first. And this doesn't take away whatever your positions are. If you're for black people, it doesn't hurt to say race first. But you know, they have orientated us in such a way that we tend not to pick up on the things that promotes us as a whole if it didn't come out, if it didn't come from us first. Like you don't see a lot of black people saying a BB for Hodie. We should be saying it. You know, that's a watchword and it's an affirmation. You know, and I like how Baba Baruti breaks it down and explains it. He's very clear when he explains that. So I'll be for Hodie, you know, race first. Call it out. The more we can affirm who we are and place us in the center of our thinking, it increases and enhances our chances of getting out this mess. So I'll be for Hodie, race first. We should always be yelling at. Every chance you get, tell your children that. Race first. Let every single black baby know race first. Talk to your children about marrying black people. Don't prolong that conversation. Don't prolong that conversation. Me and my wife was watching a show with our children the other day. I think it was the Annie show, the one with Jamie Foxx played it. We were just watching it to kill some time with the children, and it wasn't anything bad in there, whatever, for the most part. You know, granted, you got Europeans popped up here and there, but at the end of the show, Jamie Foxx kissed the white girl instantly. You know, because we didn't know that was going to happen, but as soon as it happened, instantly, my wife was like, "Hey, no black man should be kissing a white woman, and no black woman should be kissing a black man." And she told the boys, you know what I'm saying? Well, y'all get married, y'all gotta marry a black woman. And we always reaffirm that inside them. Always. We always analyzing everything that's coming into their subconscious, right? Their minds are being totally blackenized. And yes, I just made the word up. Blackenized. Because we can do that. We African. There's no flavor in the world without us. We the originators. We coin words, you know what I'm saying? We create words, you know what I'm saying? We do that. That's what we are, you know? But you have to blackenize the minds of your children.
Okay. All right.
Hey, my brother.
How you doing, Bob?
I'm doing good, man. Am I in your time slot?
No, sir. No, sir. Brother Knowledge Born, he's having major gremlins, for the lack of a better term, with his equipment. So he just called, he had me come in, to help you transition out, because he has another interview coming in. He said, as soon as you got cooking, the gremlins went full-fledged and tried to, disrupt this thing, but they can't stop it.
I appreciate it. Good seeing you, though, my brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's listening to you, putting in that work and, making it plain. I think when you come around, the soldiers stand up and, they close their mouths and open their ears to get that information, because they know you're moving in the right direction with clarity.
I appreciate that. Yeah, so, that's 5 o'clock, and I've been on here for 2 hours, so, wind me on down, man. Let's wind it on down.
Well, I mean, Africans, hey, you've met, got a little taste of Baba Imhotep Faitu. Did I say it? Did I say your last name correctly?
Yes, Fatiu, yes.
Fatiu. And this is just a taste of what he's going to bring over the next month at the 100 Years in the Whirlwind, and also at the Race First Rally. Make sure you're in attendance for both. From what I understand, Baba said if you come out there to the Race First Rally at the Henry Highland Garnett Park, am I right, Baba?
Yes. Yes, correct.
He had 100 David Walker's appeals. So get you one of those. He has some RBG flags. I think he said 3x5s.
Yes.
100 of those he's trying to give away. So you won't leave empty-handed, leaving with Baba. He's going to be giving you jewels, tools, and weaponry that you can use with precision if you come to the 100 Years in the Whirlwind. If you have not got your admission yet, please visit www.dtc1.org. But the Race First Rally, where you guys meeting at, Baba, to pop off?
We're gonna meet at, actually, you was correct. We're gonna meet at the Henry Highland Garnett Park.
Okay.
And that's on Dreeholt Avenue and Lafayette Avenue. We're gonna meet there at 1 p.m. So if you can make us, if anybody out there can make it, you're in Baltimore, please come out, be a part of this, because everything that's happening right now is a part of this. These are historic events that's taking place. All of them. The entire this August right here, it's a very historic August.
What day, Baba?
August the 16th. August the 16th, 1 p.m., Henry Highland Garnett Park. And we're going to walk from there over to the Lafayette Square Park. So just, if you need more information, please inbox me at Baba Imhotep on Facebook.
And one thing Baba said, he wants you to wear your mask.
Yes.
He wants you to wear your mask because, he wants you to feel safe. But at the end of the day, you don't need permission to be a part of this.
Right.
Your race made you eligible. So come on through, kick with Bob on the 16th. Come on and kick with Bob on the 15th. I mean, you got a whole weekend. I know, that Baba is, he walks what he talks. Everything matches up, his thoughts, his words, and his deeds. So Africans, we're going to get up out of here. We appreciate you tuning in. Baba, you had one of the biggest audiences that I don't seen, on this 100 Years in the Whirlwind series. So, you definitely doing something right, because when you come, the Africans come out. So,
Okay.
Any closing remarks, Baba?
Yes. As we close out, the key is for us to just build with those that's doing the work. Let's work against stand separate. Let's figure out unique ways to work with those that's doing the work so we can push this thing forward. So 100 years from today, somebody can say, those guys, they put that work in 100 years ago.
That's right. So it's all about making sure when that spear and that shield is dropped, hey, we got to make sure we lead it. We set an example so the ones that's coming behind us can pick it up and continue to march forward. One aim, one race,
That's
one
right.
peace and Black power, family.
Peace and Black power.